Location: edge of Detroit, 6:17 a.m. He thought they were just abandoned kids, 3 tiny lives bundled in white cloth, crying alone in the cold. A poor boy with no home of his own knelt beside them, shielding them from danger in a world that had already forgotten him. But the next morning, a silver Rolls-Royce glided up to his crumbling apartment building, and everything changed. What no one knew, those weren't just any babies. They were the heirs of one of the wealthiest men in America. Stay to the end, you won't believe how this young hero's life was transformed. It is the crack of dawn in a forgotten alley behind the rail station. The wind bites at exposed skin. Trash rustles against rusted walls and cracked pavement. A boy named Malik, just 13 years old, crouches low, barely shielded by his thin hoodie. His sneakers are soaked from the night's rain, and the chill cuts to the bone. Yet his arms are wrapped tightly around something warmer than the cold could ever be. 3 newborns, swaddled in white cloth, fragile and still. He whispers, "You are okay now. I got you." His voice trembles, but his hands do not. They are steady, protective, and determined. As he breathes out, his breath fogs in the early morning air. Behind him, the first light of day spills slowly into the alleyway, brushing against rooftops and silent bricks. The city sleeps on, unaware of the moment unfolding in its shadows. No one sees the boy in the alley. No one but the babies. Minutes earlier, Malik had followed a faint sound through the darkness, thinking it might be kittens. A thin, high cry kept pulling him toward the dumpsters. He had hesitated. The streets were not safe. But curiosity and something deeper pushed him forward. When he pulled back a damp cardboard box, what he found was not fur, but flesh. Pink faces, tiny fist, eyes tightly shut against the world. They were so small they could fit in the curve of his arms. 3 lives abandoned in the dark. His chest tightened. He had seen things in his 13 years, but this was something else. He looked around, but the alley was empty. No cameras, no footsteps, only the wind. He should have run for help. Maybe he still could. But his legs did not move. Instead, he scooped them up. They were cold. One whimpered. The smallest had stopped crying altogether. That was when fear shifted to action. He pressed them to his chest, trying to share what little warmth he had. The hoodie was useless against the morning cold, but he pulled it tighter around them anyway. He spoke softly. Words did not matter as much as tone. Reassurance, presence, hope. The sky began to pale. A distant train horn blew, and for a moment it felt like the world was coming back to life. Malik sat there with the newborns in his arms, trying to decide what to do next. He knew what adults would say: call someone, get help, wait for the police. But what if no one came in time? What if they were taken and separated? What if they ended up like so many others, lost in a system too big to care? So he sat with them, watched their little chests rise and fall, felt the soft weight of responsibility settle into his bones. He was only 13, but at that moment he felt much older. Footsteps echoed in the distance, sharp and heavy. Someone was coming. Malik stiffened. He was used to hiding, used to protecting what little was his. Now he would protect them too, even if he had to run, even if he had to lie. These 3 lives had been left for no one. Now they had him. He looked at their faces, barely visible in the early light. One opened its eyes, just for a second. Malik smiled. It was a small, tired smile, but it held everything: love, fear, purpose. Behind him, the city began to wake. Lights flickered on in faraway windows. A dog barked. Somewhere, breakfast sizzled in a pan. But in the alley behind the rail station, a boy named Malik held 3 babies close and whispered again, "You are okay now. I got you." Where are you watching from, and what would you have done? Comment below. Malik lives in a shelter tucked between 2 crumbling buildings on the east side of the city. It is not much, but it is home for now. He shares a room with his grandmother, Miss D, a retired schoolteacher whose soft voice and stern eyes still carry the weight of old chalkboards and lesson plans. She lost her pension to a predatory landlord who vanished after draining her savings. The world has not been kind, but she stands straight, holds her head high, and reminds Malik to do the same. Malik's mother disappeared 2 years ago. One morning she left for a job interview and never returned. There were rumors, whispers in the neighborhood, and phone calls that went nowhere. Malik stopped asking questions when he realized the answers only brought pain. His father is serving time upstate, locked behind bars for mistakes Malik barely understands. The boy carries these absences like invisible weights, but he does not let them slow him down. He owns one treasure, a battered notebook he guards like gold. In it, he draws superheroes. Some wear capes, others carry medical bags. All of them have powers he wishes he had, not to fly or disappear, but to heal, to protect, to arrive in time. Malik may be young, but his heart is old. He volunteers at the soup kitchen down the block, ladling broth and handing out bread rolls with a smile that hides his own hunger. He helps kids carry groceries up steep stairs, dodging broken steps and flickering lights. He never asks for payment, just a nod, maybe a thank you, and sometimes not even that. The world may take, but Malik keeps giving. He wants to be an EMT when he grows up. It is not just a job to him. It is a mission. If I can just get people to the hospital in time, maybe their stories do not have to end, he once said to Miss D. She had wiped a tear from her cheek and told him he was already saving people, just by being who he was. Evenings are his time to walk. He weaves through alleyways and forgotten streets with a large plastic bag for cans and a pocketful of dog biscuits. He checks on abandoned dogs, watches for injured strays, and leaves bits of food wherever he can. Some animals know him now. They peek from under fences and behind bins when they hear his voice. He speaks softly to them, names them, promises them they are not alone. There are days when the weight of everything catches up, when the shelter walls feel too close, when the silence from his mother feels too loud, when he wonders if trying is even worth it. But then he sees someone smile over a hot meal or a dog wag its tail at the sound of his footsteps. He remembers why he keeps moving. Miss D tells him he is the best parts of everyone who came before. She says he has his father's fire, his mother's heart, and her own stubborn will. He laughs when she says it, but deep down he hopes it is true. He wants to believe he came from strength, not just loss. The notebook always comes out before bed. By flashlight, Malik sketches more heroes. Sometimes they wear his hoodie. Sometimes they ride bikes with flashing red lights. In every drawing, they are brave. They show up. They save the day. Malik does not know what tomorrow holds. The city is rough and his path is uncertain, but he walks it with quiet courage. Because somewhere out there, someone might need help. Someone might need a hero. And Malik is ready. Have you ever had to grow up too fast? Share your story. The sky is still dark when Malik hears it. A faint sound carried on the wind, soft and unfamiliar. It is not the usual rustling of rats or the clink of bottles. It is higher, smaller, a cry. At first, he thinks it is an injured kitten, maybe one of the strays he checks on. He follows the sound through puddles and broken fences, stepping over splintered wood and dodging piles of garbage. The city smells sharp and wet, and his sneakers are already soaked through. Still, the noise pulls him forward. Behind a dumpster, half covered by a torn sheet of plastic, he finds a coat. It is thick and old, but neatly folded. 3 tiny bundles lie on top, tucked close together. The cries are louder now, unmistakable. These are not kittens. These are babies, no more than a week old. Their faces are pink and scrunched, fists curled tight. One kicks lightly, another has stopped crying. Malik kneels beside them, heart pounding. The coat has initials embroidered in gold thread. He does not recognize them. The fabric is warm, but the babies are shivering. Whoever left them did so with care, but not enough to keep them safe. Malik glances around. No footsteps, no voices, just him and these 3 new lives, breathing against the cold morning air. "I am not leaving you here," he mutters. His voice cracks as he speaks. He unzips his hoodie and gently lifts each baby into the warmth of his chest, one by one. They barely weigh anything, and yet he feels the gravity of the moment press into his spine. He pulls the zipper up, clutching them close, shielding them from the wind. He stands and starts running. His legs are stiff from the cold, his breath sharp in his throat. 2 blocks, that is all. 2 blocks to the firehouse that stays open all night. He knows the way. He passes graffiti-covered walls and flickering streetlights, eyes fixed on the glowing red sign ahead. When he bursts through the doors of the firehouse, the heat nearly knocks him over. He staggers inside, gasping for breath, his teeth chattering. A firefighter turns from a desk, startled. "Babies," Malik says between gasps. "Someone left them. Please." The man steps forward fast, his face shifting from confusion to urgency. He calls out behind him, his voice commanding. More firefighters rush in. The babies are lifted carefully from Malik's arms. Warm blankets replace the hoodie. One firefighter checks for pulses, another radios for emergency response. Malik sinks to the floor, shaking from cold and adrenaline. The fire captain kneels beside him. "You did good, kid. Stay with me." Minutes later, the block is filled with flashing red and blue lights. Paramedics arrive with soft voices and quick hands. Neighbors gather, pulled from sleep by sirens and curiosity. Questions swirl in the air, but Malik cannot answer most of them. He just watches as the babies are carried into the ambulance, their cries now muffled by fleece and care. Someone offers him a blanket. Another tries to get his name. Malik only nods. He cannot stop thinking about how cold they were, how close it had been, how small they looked under that coat. He had never run so fast in his life, never held anything so fragile, never felt so responsible. As the ambulance doors close, he catches a final glimpse of the smallest one, the one who had stopped crying. Her eyes are open now, wide and unblinking. For a second, it feels like she is looking right at him. A firefighter places a hand on his shoulder. "You saved them, son. Whatever happens next, you remember that." Malik nods again, silent. His heart is still racing, but something in him settles. He had been walking that alley just like every other day, looking for scraps and strays. But that morning, he had found something else. He had found 3 lives that were not supposed to be alone, and he had done something about it. Would you have stopped to help? Let us talk about what you would do. The ambulance speeds through the early morning streets, lights cutting across fogged windows and empty intersections. At the hospital, nurses and doctors swarm around the 3 babies, their motions swift but gentle. Vitals are checked, fluids administered, warmers turned on. Each child is cleaned and swaddled in soft hospital blankets. Their heartbeats are steady. Their temperatures begin to rise. One lets out a loud cry. It is a good sign. They are stable. Meanwhile, Malik slips away before anyone thinks to stop him. He walks out of the firehouse unnoticed, turning down an alley and disappearing into the maze of side streets he knows so well. He wants no cameras, no questions, no spotlight. All that mattered was getting the babies somewhere safe. That part is done. But across the city, as the sun lifts above the skyline, chaos begins to spread. The story breaks within the hour. 3 missing infants recovered alive behind a downtown firehouse. Anonymous tip. No suspects, no arrests. But someone watching the news knows exactly who those babies are. William Langston stares at the television in disbelief. The tech billionaire is pale and shaking. His triplet sons vanished 6 days ago from his private estate in one of the most high-profile security breaches the state has ever seen. There were no demands, no notes, no clues beyond a shredded surveillance feed and one piece of evidence. A masked nanny captured on blurry footage, running toward a waiting van. The entire country has been watching. Langston had poured millions into the search. He had offered a $1 million reward. He had not slept in days. Now, there they are. Alive. In a hospital crib. Law enforcement moves quickly. The footage from the firehouse is pulled. Witness statements collected. But Malik's face does not appear. No one caught his name. No one saw which direction he went. He had vanished into the city before the press even arrived. Detectives analyze the coat found with the babies. The gold initials match a member of Langston's staff who vanished the same night as the children. All evidence points to an inside job. Investigators believe the nanny may have acted alone at first, but someone must have helped her, or betrayed her. The trail goes cold outside a gas station where the van was last seen. Malik hears the news from a small TV inside the soup kitchen. The screen is cracked, but the message is clear. Those babies are the sons of William Langston, billionaire, founder of Langston Technologies. Malik stares at the screen, stunned. He had no idea who they were. He never even thought to ask. All he saw were 3 lives in danger. He had done what he hoped someone would do for him. Miss D watches him from the doorway. She sees the questions rising in his eyes, the way his fingers tap nervously on the table. She says nothing. She trusts him to carry this moment in his own way. Malik keeps his head down. He avoids the news vans now circling the hospital. He does not want to be found. He is not looking for reward. He is not looking for fame. He just wants to go back to walking his streets, feeding his strays, and dreaming of the day he can help people for a living. Behind the headlines and the flashing lights, the truth sits quietly. A boy with holes in his shoes and drawings in his notebook gave 3 children a second chance, and he asked for nothing in return. The investigation continues. Authorities promise justice. But the real story, the one no one can quite trace, belongs to the boy who walked away before anyone could thank him. Have you ever done the right thing without expecting anything in return? Drop your experience below. The morning sun climbs over the rooftops, casting long shadows across the sidewalk outside the shelter. Exhausted faces shuffle through the front gate, holding coffee cups and bundled coats. Then a car pulls up that silences the noise of the street. It is not just any car. It is a silver Rolls-Royce Phantom, its paint gleaming, its engine quiet like a whisper. Within seconds, reporters appear from both corners of the block. Cameras flash, microphones stretch forward. The crowd grows with every breath. But the car door opens without hesitation. William Langston steps out, dressed in a dark suit and long coat, his face drawn but focused. He ignores the noise and heads straight to the shelter's front desk. Inside, Miss D looks up, puzzled by the commotion outside. She sees a man she recognizes from the news walking straight toward her. His presence fills the space. He stops in front of her, voice calm but filled with weight. "Where can I find Malik?" Miss D steps forward, her chin lifting slightly. She has protected Malik his whole life. She's not about to stop now. "Why do you want to know?" Langston looks her in the eye and replies, "I think your grandson saved my family." The words fall into the air like a warm light. Confusion flickers across Miss D's face, then softens into something else. She nods once and turns to call down the hall. Malik walks out slowly, eyes darting to the cameras outside, then to the man standing in the lobby. He recognizes him from the news stories. This is William Langston, the billionaire, the man whose babies he found. Langston does not wait for introductions. He drops to one knee in front of Malik and speaks clearly. "I have got 3 boys because of you. I owe you everything." Malik opens his mouth, but no words come out. The room is silent except for the sound of shutters clicking outside the glass. Miss D places a hand on Malik's shoulder. Langston reaches into his coat and pulls out a sealed envelope. He holds it out to Miss D. "This is for you and your grandson. It includes the deed to a home in a quiet neighborhood, a college fund that will grow with him, and 1 blank check for whatever you need." Miss D does not take it right away. Her hands tremble slightly. She looks to Malik. He nods, barely. Outside, a sleek black SUV waits at the curb, its engine running. A driver stands ready to escort them whenever they choose to leave. The shelter residents step back, watching the moment unfold with awe and quiet respect. Langston stands and turns to Malik again. "I cannot repay what you did, but I can try to make sure your life gets easier from here. You did not do it for a reward. That is exactly why you deserve one." Malik still says nothing, but something in his expression shifts. He looks up at Miss D, then back at Langston. Then he takes a small step forward and shakes the man's hand. The cameras outside do not see tears. They do not hear the soft words that follow. They only capture the image of a billionaire beside a boy who had nothing but did everything. Langston does not linger. He places a hand on Malik's shoulder and turns to leave. As he exits, he says only one thing more to Miss D. "Whenever you are ready, the keys are yours. The driver knows the way." Inside, the envelope is everything Malik never asked for. A future that once seemed impossible. A door to a life where he can dream without fear. Outside, the reporters shout questions, but no one answers. Miss D holds the envelope to her chest. Malik steps to the window and looks out at the SUV waiting to take them to something new. He does not say much that morning. But deep down, something settles. Not the value of what was given, but the proof that doing the right thing can still echo far beyond what anyone imagines. What would you do if someone rewarded your kindness beyond belief? Let us imagine together. Within 24 hours, Malik's name is on every major news station. From morning shows to late-night segments, headlines flash across the screen in bold letters, "The Guardian of Grace Street." Anchors tell the story with solemn voices and soft music. They replay the footage of the firehouse, the ambulance, the babies. Reporters stand outside the hospital and in front of the shelter. Everyone wants a quote. Everyone wants a glimpse of the boy who changed everything. But Malik does not appear. He avoids the cameras and turns off the TV. Miss D fields calls from journalists, authors, networks, and agents. Malik refuses them all. Then, after 3 days, he agrees to one interview. No lights, no fancy set. Just a small table in the back of the community center. The reporter arrives with a notebook, not a camera. Malik speaks clearly, his voice steady. He does not say much, but every word is honest. I did not do it for money or fame. I just could not walk away from them. That is all. The reporter writes every word, and the story spreads even faster. It is not just what Malik did that captures people. It is how he carries it. With quiet strength, with no interest in being the center of attention. Langston watches the interview from his office. Moved, he decides to build something lasting. 1 week later, he announces the launch of the Malik Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting underprivileged youth. The mission is simple. Give kids the tools, support, and confidence to become everyday heroes. Malik is named as its first youth board member. He helps shape the programs, choosing to focus on emergency training, animal rescue, and creative arts. The foundation opens doors in neighborhoods often ignored. It funds after-school programs, mobile clinics, and mentorship opportunities. Children who once felt invisible now have a place to grow. And at the heart of it all is a boy who once walked alleyways collecting cans and caring for strays. Meanwhile, teachers across the country begin using Malik's story in classrooms. It becomes part of social-emotional learning lessons, used to spark conversations about courage, empathy, and doing the right thing. Posters with his quote hang in hallways. You do not need powers to be a hero. You just need to show up. But it is his drawings that take on a life of their own. One sketch, in particular, spreads across social media like wildfire. It shows a boy in a hoodie, cradling 3 glowing orbs, standing between a dark alley and a bright light. Above him reads the name The Hood Guardian. Artists begin recreating it in murals and digital art. Fans start sending Malik their own superhero sketches. Children draw themselves with capes, with stethoscopes, with animal rescue kits. A publishing house reaches out with interest in turning his characters into a graphic novel series. At first, Malik is overwhelmed. But Miss D reminds him, "This is your story. You decide how it is told." So he writes, he draws. He shares pieces of his notebook with the foundation team, who help him create a small zine distributed to local schools. It is not about selling a brand. It is about giving kids someone to look up to, someone who looks like them, lives like them, and still chooses to care. In the weeks that follow, Malik receives thousands of letters. Some come from kids who have been in shelters. Others come from firefighters, nurses, and teachers. They call him brave. They call him a hero. Malik reads every single one. He keeps the ones that say things like, "Because of you, I helped someone today," or "I want to be like you when I grow up." He never expected any of it. But now that it is here, he knows what to do with it. Use it. Share it. Build something real from it. Because if one act of kindness can turn into all this, then maybe the world is ready for more than just stories. Maybe it is ready for change. Have you ever been inspired by a kid's bravery? Let us celebrate them. The ballroom glows under chandeliers that shimmer like stars. Elegant tables circle a stage lit with soft gold. Guests in suits and gowns fill the room, glasses clinking, voices hushed. It is the annual gala for the Malik Foundation, and tonight the air is thick with gratitude. Malik stands behind a podium at the center of it all. He wears a tailored navy suit, the tie knotted with quiet care. His shoes shine under the lights. He shifts his weight, clears his throat, and looks out at the hundreds of faces watching him. Somewhere near the front, Miss D sits with her hands folded, eyes bright. William Langston is beside her, holding his sons in his lap. Malik grips the edge of the podium, his fingers pressing against the polished wood. He takes a breath. My grandma always said we do not need a lot to do something good, just heart, he begins. His voice is steady, if a little soft. That morning, I did not know who those babies were, but I knew what they needed, and I knew I could not walk away. The room falls silent. Not one fork clinks. Not one whisper stirs. Malik continues. Sometimes we wait for someone else to do the right thing. But what if we are the someone? What if we are the moment someone else is waiting for? Langston wipes his eyes with a napkin. His sons nestled close. One of them leans against his chest, thumb in mouth. The weight of what almost was and what now is rests in every corner of the room. I am not special, Malik says. I just listened. I just cared. A quiet applause builds from the back and spreads like a wave, respectful and full of feeling. Malik steps back from the microphone, offering a small nod. As he moves off the stage, the room stands. People rise to their feet. Some clap, some cry. All feel the echo of his words. Back at his table, Malik takes his seat beside Miss D. She pats his hand without a word, but pride radiates from her like warmth. Moments later, while guests begin their dinners and conversations, a small figure stumbles away from one of the front tables. One of the Langston triplets, just barely walking, makes his way across the floor with unsure steps. He reaches Malik and hugs his leg tightly, pressing his cheek against the dark fabric of the suit. Malik looks down, startled for a second, then smiles. Not a big grin, just a gentle, knowing smile. Guess I am part of their story now, he says softly. Langston steps up behind him, placing a hand on Malik's shoulder. He does not speak. He just lets the moment be what it is. The night carries on with music and speeches, auction bids and laughter. But that one moment becomes the headline. The photo. The one memory no one forgets. In the days that follow, the clip of Malik's speech spreads everywhere. Schools replay it. Foundations quote it. Even a group of students in another city paint it as a mural on their school wall. At the center is Malik in his suit, hand on the child's back, with the words, "We are the moment someone is waiting for." Malik goes back to school the next morning. He sits in the same seat, wears the same sneakers, carries the same notebook. But something is different. Not louder, not brighter, just clearer. His path, his role, his reason. That moment at the gala did not change him. It reminded him that all it takes is a choice, one person, one morning, one yes. And now he is the story others tell when they speak about courage. Has someone ever thanked you in a way you will never forget? Share below. Malik's story stretches far beyond his city. It crosses oceans, languages, and borders. From Tokyo to Nairobi, from small classrooms in rural villages to busy city cafes, people read about the boy who found 3 babies behind a dumpster and changed the world by simply caring. But it is not the rescue alone that captures hearts. It is the message behind it. Kindness does not belong only to the wealthy or powerful. It belongs to anyone with the courage to act when no one is watching. Journalists, authors, and filmmakers explore every angle of Malik's story. He appears in documentaries and school curriculums. Scholars discuss his decisions in ethics courses. His sketches of the Hood Guardian become symbols of bravery in public art installations. And through it all, Malik stays grounded. He attends school, volunteers at the shelter, and helps lead foundation meetings with the same calm, focused presence he always had. He never seeks the spotlight. He just shows up when it matters. Over time, that becomes his legacy. International leaders reference him in speeches. A hospital wing is named in his honor. Children write to him from places he has never heard of, telling him how his story gave them the strength to do the right thing when it was hardest. Some tell him they stood up for a friend. Others say they helped a lost animal. One even shares that she stopped a fight by remembering his quote, "We are the moment someone else is waiting for." Despite the growing attention, Malik remains exactly who he always was. He still draws in his notebook late at night. He still carries biscuits in his pocket for stray dogs. He still calls Miss D from every event, no matter how far he travels. When asked how life has changed, he often says, "I guess I just have more people to help now." Miss D stays right by his side through every chapter. Reporters love asking her questions, especially about the lavish gifts. They ask if she kept the Rolls-Royce. She always laughs. "We kept the SUV," she says with a grin. "Malik said that other car was too shiny to be sneaky in." Their new home is modest but warm. It has a garden out back and a sunroom where Malik likes to read. The deed hangs in a frame in the hallway. The blank check remains untouched in a safe. To them, what matters most was never money. It was the chance to live without fear, to give without emptying their own hands. Langston visits often. His sons call Malik their big brother. They play in the yard together and bring drawings to hang on the fridge. What began as a miracle turned into a bond no reward could buy. Malik's foundation grows. It launches scholarships, youth leadership programs, and animal rescue partnerships. He always insists it stays local first. "The heroes I looked up to were in my neighborhood," he says, "so that is where we start." Years later, when asked to speak at a global youth summit, Malik closes his speech with a simple truth. Everyone thinks it has to be something huge, but sometimes the biggest change begins with stopping to listen, with choosing to care, without walking away. Applause follows, long and thunderous. But Malik just steps down from the stage, tucks his notebook under his arm, and smiles quietly. He knows the work continues. He knows there are still alleyways and shadows, still children who feel forgotten, still stories waiting for a hand to turn the page. And he will keep showing up. Because kindness is not a performance. It is a promise, one that says even the smallest actions can carry the weight of a miracle. So from alley pavement to marble stages, from quiet corners to crowded rooms, Malik reminds the world of something simple and profound. That you do not need wealth or fame or perfect timing. You just need a heart and the courage to use it. Share this if you believe small actions can lead to world-changing miracles.